In the army training throughout the world, they go a step further in a wrong and unhealthily dangerous way. Why does it matter? My name is Ladi Ojas. Welcome to Skeletal Leap, a living adventure. Skeletal Leap transforms one's life into a personal heaven. Today's episode will tell you how I cracked the code of instant throat chakra opening. From pectoralis muscles, including pectoralis major and pectoralis minor, I moved on to deltoid muscle now. I was trying to crack the code of instant throat chakra opening. Contrary to the heart chakra distorting the cervical vertebral posturing caused by emotions generating muscular armor, the throat chakra distorted C5 and C6 posturing caused by the action of gravity on the shoulders. It made them drop down rather than getting tucked in. How did I reach this conclusion? I took my cue from quadrupeds posturing their upper torso along with their upper limbs. As we turned bipeds, we took our upper limbs up in the air, postured by the rotation of the humerus through deltoid muscles. And as gravity pulled the shoulders down, the humerus that was attached to them turned its angle 90-degree clockwise in its horizontal orientation on both sides. This made the entire upper limbs rotate 90-degree clockwise with their palms facing each other rather than facing backward as they were designed. As it became habitual, it distorted C5 and C6, thus closing the throat chakra. C5 and C6 have anatomical connections with thyroid and cricoid cartilages. The function of thyroid cartilage is protecting the vocal cords lying behind it. The function of the cricoid cartilage is providing attachments to cricothyroid muscle, posterior cricoarytenoid muscle, and lateral cricoarytenoid muscle. These muscles and cartilages affect the speech through opening and closing the airway. Moreover, the changes in the angle between thyroid and cricoid cartilages change the pitch of voice. The dropping down of the shoulders brings a number of other habitual postural changes in the upper torso, including the orientation of the shoulder blades and collarbones. And it was the orientation of the shoulder blades that I was looking for while cracking the code of instant heart chakra opening. I had actually got stuck while maneuvering my shoulder blades with the help of pectoralis minor, as it hadn't made me as sensitive there as relaxing pectoralis major had done to my chest. In the army training throughout the world, they go a step further in a wrong and unhealthily dangerous way. They train soldiers in tucking the chest out while the shoulders are still drooping down. It orients the shoulder blades, bringing them closest at their lower extremities. No one has yet analyzed that it turns them aggressively violent rather than passively timid. But it has been serving their purpose of turning their soldiers brave, even if violently, and they are happy with it. But when I rotated my upper limbs through activating the scapular fibers of deltoid, like in rowing movement, the orientation of the shoulder blades perfectly fell in place, maneuvering them closest to each other at their upper extremities. It now perfectly matched my sensitivity through stabilizing my shoulder blades to the empathetic sensitivity at my pectoralis major through protruding my chest by spreading my shoulders out to do away with my inward tuck. It had also aligned the collarbones with the neck on both sides rather than running perpendicular to it. Pectoralis minor and deltoid muscles had done a wonderful job in collaboration with each other to turn the entire upper back equally sensitive at all its locations. In other words, the heart chakra and the throat chakra had done this wonderful job in collaboration with each other. This confirmed that these two chakras were the part of the upper torso chakra group supporting each other. Let me talk here a little bit about developing the skills of communication, which is the hallmark of an open throat chakra. The communication skill in the context of throat chakra is basically a vocal expression of the instinct of interaction through a tool called language. It's a highly specialized skill that humans alone have developed in their tongues with the help of vocal cords through their evolved brains to interact in a deeply subtle manner. When we utilize it properly, it rewards us with sharing our life experiences in their full depth with one another. Why does it matter? It matters because it fills our life with colors. The better we are in communicating with others, the more interesting a person do we come out as. Everyone feels like interacting with such a person. The more we interact, the more stories get added to our life journey. These stories are the essence of our life. Whenever we interact with a stranger, we add a new story enriching our life. Not only our own life, but the life of the stranger as well. Who knows which interaction takes you where you have never been before? How do we do so? How do we communicate better and interact deeper? For this to happen, we need to be interested in the person first of all. Are we? We need our heart chakra to be open for this. If it is, we are sensitive to what the person has in store to interact with us. It spontaneously turns us empathetic to them. The communication of empathy doesn't even need language for it. When it's there, it radiates with every single action we do. It's, in fact, the highest form of love that radiates from one's mere presence. The second condition is that we should be interested in what the other person wants to interact about. Are we choosy or are we open enough to listen to whatever the other person feels like interacting about? It again comes from the sensitivity that an open heart chakra provides us with. The third condition is that we need to listen more than we speak. We again need an open heart chakra for being able to do that. It's not the quantity of how much we speak, but the quality of what we speak and how we speak that adds to the quality of interaction. For this, we need an open throat chakra at our disposal. When we need to speak, we need doing so with a passionate voice. The quality of voice matters a lot. If it is passionate, it echoes with reverberations in it. These reverberations tell us that we are feeling the person to the depth of their heart. It goes contagious. The other person feels us to the depth of our heart as well. It certainly requires an open throat chakra. Also, when we need to speak during the interaction, the language that we use needs not only to be logically to the point, but also passionately so. It needs to speak its own story as an excellent piece of art. It's the beauty of the throat chakra to be able to create that art while we speak. There is nothing more colorful than a satiating interaction in life. We need to open our heart and throat chakras to make our life colorful in every sense. I had successfully cracked the code of instant throat chakra opening. Download the code in the resources section of Skeletal Leap Book 1, available on skeletalleap.com/the mind-body connection. As I opened my throat chakra, there was one more thing that I discovered. And this one was even more valuable than strengthening the vocal communication channel. I realized that opening the throat chakra not only completed the instinctual physiology of its adjacent heart chakra located just below it in its own group, but also did the same to all the torso chakras located below it in the most perfect manner. It was a striking revelation that made me realize that the throat chakra was actually the king of all the five torso chakras, exactly like the crown chakra is said to be the king of all seven chakras. It told me that we cannot ignore this chakra not only for opening this one alone, but also for perfectly opening the rest four of them below it in the torso. It made the complete torso group of chakras a supergroup comprising the lower torso chakra group and the upper torso chakra group. Also, the open throat chakra creates a support base, raising the levels of C3, C2 or axis, and C1 or atlas, supporting the skull at a higher level from below. Hence, it prepares a ground for the skull chakras to open way more easily than it would have been possible without the said support base. I will explain it in greater detail in my next episode, telling my story of opening the skull chakras finally once again after having them opened in the very beginning of my venture of cracking the code of instant eyesight improvement. Actually, that was the coincidental leap that this entire journey had started with. Owing to all the earlier mentioned revelations, the throat chakra certainly deserves to be given the status of the second most important chakra to open in the human body. Anyway, though it's tougher than the rest of the chakras below it, we still need to make the code of instant throat chakra opening our first nature by keeping the earlier mentioned new orientations in place 24/7. These include the following ones among them. The palms of the hands start facing backward like they were designed to do. The shoulder blades get stabilized with their upper extremities maneuvered closest to each other. Collarbones get perfectly aligned with the neck on both sides. It also turns the entire torso absolutely taut, complementing the rest four torso chakras below it, opening them in an absolute manner. And the most important thing is that the shoulders raise themselves against gravity, increasing the effective length of the entire vertebral column with both its double S shapes intact. This also raises the levels of C3, C2 or axis, and C1 or atlas, supporting the skull at a higher level from below. At this point, let me enlist the main features of deltoid muscle, including its anatomy and physiology ahead. Innervated by auxiliary nerve from the anterior rami of the cervical nerves at C5 and C6, the deltoid is located on the shoulder. It comprises three sets of muscle fibers. Number one, anterior or clavicular fibers assist pectoralis major to flex the shoulder. Number two, posterior or scapular fibers assist latissimus dorsi to extend the shoulder like in rowing movements. And number three, intermediate or acromial fibers perform shoulder abduction. Out of these three, only the posterior or scapular fibers keep their associated vertebral upper S shape intact at the C5 and C6 vertebrae. The other two tend to turn it into an inverted C shape. Also, when we stretch our body for relaxation, the posterior fibers perform alone. Hence, it's logical to deduce that the action by the posterior fibers is the most relaxed state of the muscle. When we make it our first nature, it keeps the throat chakra open. But when we keep it postured in any other way, it closes the throat chakra. It does so by turning the upper S shape of the C5 C6 vertebrae into an inverted C shape. The action by the posterior fibers is also the one that brings the top ends of the scapulae closest to each other. It also aligns the collarbones along the neck, giving it a 180-degree freedom. And this freedom that the head experiences on the neck facilitates the opening of the throat chakra, which then becomes ready to open the next chakras, that's the ones in the skull. It opens our pathways to intelligence and logical communication. But if it's closed, it corrupts our communication and logical comprehension. Symptoms of a closed throat chakra include sore throat, stiff neck, fear of speaking out, hypothyroidism, and hyperthyroidism. As usual, there is the same caveat here as well. You guessed it right. The throat chakra cannot be effectively opened unless the root, sacral, solar plexus, and heart chakras below it are already open. Thanks for listening to this episode of Skeletal Leap, a living adventure. In the next episode, I will tell you how I cracked the codes of instant third eye chakra and crown chakra opening. Be a part of Skeletal Leap community. Subscribe to Skeletal Leap newsletter. Click on the link in the description to subscribe.